Sup, Nerdmigos? I'm the Jive Talking Nerd, John Norgrove. We've got Wife here, and we're back at it again for another review Jive. We just got back home from the theater, seeing Furiosa, a Mad Max Saga, and let me tell you, we have thoughts. So before we get into thoughts, don't forget to like and do all that kind of stuff. Spoiler-free review, quickie spoiler-free review. Should you see this? Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Second question, should you see this in theaters?
Yes.
Actually, yes. Yeah, 100%. It's worth it.
Super worth it.
Super worth it. Yes, 100%. It's worth seeing in theater. Support your local theater. Go to the smaller one. They need the money more than big corporations. So let's do that. But yeah, definitely see it in theater.
Sound design, A+.
Yeah.
Action sets, A+.
Yeah.
Immersion, A+.
Everything's delicious.
Definitely
100% recommend. Go see this movie. Okay, so let's just spoiler alerts and then get right into spoilers. I was gently unsure about Anna Taylor-Joy.
Yes.
That was more difficult than I would like to admit. I was gently unsure about Anna Taylor-Joy. Just from like a physicality standpoint, right? Like not like an acting chop standpoint. She's a fantastic actress, and I super love her as an actress. But I was just like, I don't know if she has the like punch a guy in the face to death energy that I expect. And
she does.
I am.
She sure does.
Very happy to be definitely wrong on that. 100% did she have that energy. I enjoyed it fantastically. This was such a good movie.
Yeah.
Oh
so
my goodness.
I also went into this a little unsure, but not because of Anna Taylor-Joy necessarily, but because when you do a prequel,
it often
a lot
proves.
of times it's not great.
Sure.
Because you don't have like appropriate tension, because you know that your main character is going to make it out because you see them however many years later in the main thing.
And prequels are very nowadays like remember this that's gonna come up in the next one? Remember this? It's no longer tongue-in-cheek or like a nod and a wink at the camera or the audience. It's like a 4-hour dissertation on specifically why you should have recognized that this one scene was the thing that you thought it was a reference to. Like movies
or
are like
checking
too
fan
in your
service
mouth
boxes
about it.
Okay,
you know?
but this ended up not being that at all.
No, it was really good.
Absolutely held
like there were
attention
definitely some like
and everything,
but they were less like look at this, like look at him, we're gonna stop and pose. They were like less like that and more just like sup, and you're like dope, sup dog.
Yeah,
you know, it was like very much like that. The only scene that like approached the like is the scene with Max.
Yeah,
like being shot over.
Done
but
well.
It was done so well, and it existed for precisely the right amount of time for you to be like, oh, I know what this is, and then get your attention drawn to the action happening behind him, and he's just kind of like, oh, that was a dope thing. Look at this action, and then we continue with the movie. Like, and it was perfect because I immediately recognized that as a temporal moment.
Yeah.
Right? Insofar as that scene acted not only as a like, hey, remember this kind of like point at the audience, but it represented a fixed point in time that you already know in this universe. So because there are not dates, right? Like in a lot of sci-fi and stuff like that, everybody's talking 2173, 1943, Tuesday at 6 p.m. Like you gotta be like real fucking specific to set up your universe. But this is just like vague forward, right? And so, for the most part, I mean, like, hell, only until the end does she mention it's like been 15 years or whatever the hell.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, you actually don't really have a concept of time in this.
It's at less fixed point.
Like, at one point, actually at 2 points, they used the growth of a plant to show us the passage of time, which is just fantastic. Like watching this, the cinematography was fantastic.
Effing tell you, I loved it so much, dude. They did such great framing, such good cinematography. It is dramatic in a fantastically dramatic way, but it's also dramatic it's dramatic self-seriously, so like with internal logic, but it's also dramatic in a like comical way. Not like a ha 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 laugh at this movie comic, but like a comic book comic. Like the movie exists. Honestly, both of Max Miller? George Miller.
Max Miller is the tasting history guy.
Oh, okay, whatever. Dude, you know what? I'm not even gonna pretend. George, Max, and Miller are three names, just like not distinctly insane enough for me to remember which is which, unless it's a person that I actually know. And then I'm like, oh, that's George. Like, I know George. I know Max, right? I don't know somebody named Miller, but God, that would be awesome. Right? First name Miller, last name Light. What's up? But, like, no, the movie is internally self-serious, but it is, like, intrinsically absurdist and comical if you're kind of like hoity-toity, push your glasses up kind of about it.
It definitely...
but it does it in a way where you don't feel like
it definitely felt like this could have been adapted from like a graphic novel to fit the screen the way that you had like these like beautiful action set pieces and just everything, the sheer epicness
big,
of it.
Dark Knight vibes.
It brought big 300 energy.
Big 300 energy.
But like 300 when it first came out, y'all, let's time travel back to when you first saw 300 in the theater and how absolutely like amazing and kind of like life-changing that was. And this is very similar in that.
Big like first run Marvel movies. Big like all those movies that we watched.
Art cinema, but without being like art house.
Yeah. Well, I compare it to The Dark Knight because The Dark Knight is like generally recognized as a fantastic series of movies, right? They have a lot of like internal realism, externally there would be a lot of dead Batmans, but let's ignore that, right? But it has like internal realism, internal seriousness, but it also is willing to have like a man be weird about clowns. Or have two halves of a face, or like be whatever the fuck was wrong with Bane.
yeah.
You know what I mean? So like this movie, you're like so vested, and it's so real and so like internally logical.
Yeah.
Whilst also and simultaneously being the level of absurdity as like, what did this billionaire see some bats while he was sad? I guess he should dress like a bat and just like punch bad guys. That's perfectly reasonable and logical. But like, that like if you were asked that question and like not with comic books in mind, that's crazy, right? This like, oh, we live in the wastes and we have these 3 towns and they all work and like all this kind of stuff. And there's all these like big, larger than life characters, right? It's all sort of like, it's all very vaudevillian, but in this like fantastically real and like you believe that guy's 100% gonna stab you. 100%.
Yeah, well,
you know what I mean?
One of the things that I really like about movie franchises, particularly good ones, but in general, is the world building. For me, world building really does it for this stuff. And I really love the world that they're continuing to build. We got a lot of like additional information about this universe that is Mad Max. Yeah. We actually like got an actual location. Like we know for a fact this takes place in Australia. Like we know this we knew. Yeah. But like they showed
they like showed it on a map.
And they showed it on a map and they showed all the things. Like they're really setting that like world for you, which is really cool, but also the way that this movie is written and shot, right, is adding to the mythos of that world. So you now know about Bullet Town. You now know what that looks like. Oh, you now know about the people in there. Like you know about all of these things, and and they give like so much more information that really helps to like flesh that out. And we actually got to see the green place, which we didn't in Fury Road. And it's like it's like a big moment because she's like upset because it's gone, right? But also like you're just like, oh well. okay, I guess. Like, you don't know what you're missing in Fury Road because you never saw it. But you know now what she was missing.
Yeah.
But like it really creates this like beautiful world tapestry that allows you to basically build this as a mythos. And that's kind of what George Miller has always wanted to do with the Mad Max sagas, all of the movies, is less of a timeline, like first this happens, and then this happens, and then this happens, but more of like, these are myths from a broken world. Like if you compare these to like Greek mythology, that would be pretty accurate because
to that end,
because time doesn't because time doesn't make sense. You know, a lot of the things that are doing are so heroic that these people are basically gods.
Yeah.
And it really does a wonderful job of creating a new mythos. It directly
sets up that we are not necessarily listening to a 100% factual narrator. Like we aren't watching the action that's happening. We are perceiving the bard around a fire telling you of these grand things. Yeah. Right? And you get that at the very end, which, holy actual shit, was that good, my dudes. Wow. Right? But where he's just like, some say it was just this, and some say it was just this, but I heard, and the but I heard is like 47 times more metal than anything else. Yeah. And you're like, okay, dog. What, like,
it's so good. As someone who often researches like
and lore.
As someone who regularly researches legends and lore and mythology to find like, you know, to figure out like where the differences are, it's really cool because I often am like, okay, well, which version of this myth do I like the best?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And that's kind of what they give you at the end of this.
Yeah. Well, but it also it sort of wink and nods. The fact that it occurs at the end gives you this like it gives you this sort of like sensational backtrack where like now everything that you perceived becomes less like the camera is showing truth and more like you know, the legend of Hercules, the legend of King Arthur, the legend of, it pushes Furiosa, and arguably it pushes the entire universe, right? But especially his movies, Furiosa and Fury Road, right? It pushes them into a state where like both movies exist as like legend in this waste. And we don't need to know who's telling the waste, and we don't need to know the truth of the waste. We need to know the stories of the waste.
Yeah.
Right? We need to see the theater of the waste, for a lack of better words.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so it presents, as well as I think that it does a good job of kind of connectively explaining small stylistic changes between the two movies.
Yeah.
Right? And so
and between the two time frames the movies were made in as well.
Yeah, yeah. Well, cuz like
between like Gibson Mad Max and like reboot Mad Max.
Yeah, well, sure, yes, that too. But like, so the first Mad Max was like these very big chase set pieces. It was about the cars and the action around the cars, and it was fantastic. Fury Road is fantastic, right? But this movie is, I feel like the set pieces around the chases are smaller and more intimate, right? But the big, like, beautiful set pieces are the set pieces of the Citadel, Bullet Town, and the gas place.
Yeah.
Right?
Gastown,
whatever. Where you're just like, they show Gastown and you're just like, get the fuck out of here, this is nice.
Yeah.
Right? And they show Bullet Town and you're just like, get the fuck out of here. What? This is awesome. And then you return to these locations, and each time you return, you sort of go like further in.
Yeah, you get more.
Yeah. So you're like vested in all of these set pieces, and it's less about, I mean, to just like kind of nail on the head this. Right, like one is named Fury Road. It's a story about the road. The road would be those action set pieces. And this one's called Furiosa. This story specifically focuses on her interactions with these locations. Yeah. Driving on a road is like 97% boring, 3%, why did that guy try to merge into me? What an asshole.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So like, you get what I'm saying? We're like internal logic-wise, everything sort of makes sense. But because we get to see these places, we gain so much more knowledge. And I would argue that this movie's vehicles, though fewer, cooler. Right?
Yeah. I was gonna ask, what is your favorite vehicle? Not the war rig. That doesn't count because the war rig, whole nother level.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah. It's not though, because there's a monster truck. And I am going to 100% put on my I was once a child hat and say, there's a goddamn monster truck.
So that's your favorite.
My God. It's so fucking cool, dude. And like, don't get it twisted. The war rig with its
war rig doesn't
grappling
count.
claws is
don't. The war rig does not count.
Hold on. All right, the war rig with its 2 grappling claws and its spinning ball sack and all that stuff is cool. The monster truck is kind of cooler.
Disagree.
And the reason why I say
the monster truck is cool
is because the monster truck is such a hero vehicle that is too good. It's too good. It's so fucking cool, dude. I love that monster truck. The fucking 6-wheel monster truck. Absolutely. Why is it so fast? Give me that. Man, that thing catches up so fucking fast with Furiosa and the other man. Whatever the fuck his name was. Right, with the dark thing, the one who taught her and escaped with her? Jack, sure, yes.
Praetorian Jack.
Yeah. Not at all did I pick up his name. Do not care, Furiosa.
They only said it like twice.
But it caught up so fucking fast. Oh my goodness. Also, it died easily one of the funniest deaths.
Yeah.
Because he's like, as soon as you see the hand there, I'm just like, this is not the end. And then he jumps in. He's just like, everybody go! And he jumps in, chooses not to check on his vehicle, and takes off and immediately fucking grounds it. Out loud laugh. So good. Oh my goodness, so good. But I love that the war rig was different. I love that everything felt so very chosen.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Where you're like, we're going to make this look like this. We're going to make... It all felt so specific in a fantastic way. But yes, monster truck is my favorite. What is your favorite vehicle?
Oh, chariot motorcycles.
Chariot cycles! Listen,
not
dog,
even a hesitation. Chariot motorcycles.
I was so in on chariot cycles.
Yeah.
Until that monster truck.
Not even the monster truck.
Until that monster truck absolutely disrespected gravity 5 times.
Yep. All the way.
Chariot cycles?
Motorcycles.
Yeah.
I grew up around motorcycles.
Also, that front cycle with a rotary engine, I genuinely... When the reader was describing it and they like show a close up and they pull out and I'm like, okay, we're gonna get back to this, right, guys? And then they fucking don't get back to it. And like at the like halfway through when we stop seeing chariot cycles, like the last time we see chariot cycles, I'm just like, are we gonna talk about these? I mean, are we gonna talk about this fucking rotary engine? Man, like my internal engineer was just like, oh, maybe fuck this movie. I was just like sad because I want to know more about that absolutely fucking beautiful motorcycle. Yeah. Get all the way out of here, my guy.
Yeah, that they
what
like
the
never
fuck?
show
They
again.
never. They're just like, here's a glimpse. Get bent. No, chariot cycles was very
chariot
cool.
motorcycles, hands down my favorite.
Yeah.
So the war rig. This was so cool. There is so
better
much...
war rig. Get fucked.
There is
I'll
so much detail that's put into the war rig.
So cool.
Like all of the relief on the on the tanker
Can
areas.
Can we talk about
the
this
inside
fucking
has
build
all
montage?
the Immortan Joes. The build montage
Threw me
was fantastic.
back
got
to
the
80s
grappling
movies.
thing.
Loved
It's
it.
got all the wibbly wobblies. It's got the balls on the back. Like everything about this war rig was so cool.
Yeah.
Like everything about it was
so
cool.
Goodness.
And you know what made the war rig even cooler is the absolute exquisite level of stunts that the war boys were doing.
Best war boys.
The war boys
These
stunts
war boys were so good.
Amazing.
So
I was
good.
like watching them going like, dang, dude, this is like really cool looking. And like sometimes the movie in a few places like jumped the shark with like CGI and a person onto a thing.
The CGI dogs off of out of the cage off the back of the what's his name's truck, right, into like attacking Furiosa's dude Jack, right, though I think that was probably the most like CGI. Because like those dogs were they were CGI the entire time, which is fine.
You know what? The mom jumping onto the horse in the very beginning was the one that I was like,
but that happened so quick. The dogs were on screen. The CGI for that should have happened faster. It was too long, and I was just like,
every time they did,
are we gonna cut to real dogs?
Yeah, but like every time they did that, like jumping the shark kind of CGI, it was over pretty quickly, and you were like, oh wait, never mind.
Well, it just didn't fucking matter because like you're just like, oh, these dogs are killing this guy, and you're like, well, he's already mostly dead, so I don't really give a shit about that. What's Furiosa about ready to do? Right? Yeah. Or like the mom jumps on the horse, and you're just like, oh yeah, it's like, I don't know about that shit, but like also, what's his mom gonna do with his fucking horse? Right?
Yeah.
Which is murder. So, gangster.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, so good. A lot of like very... Okay. That's what I'm gonna say about this. If you haven't seen Rebel Moon, don't. It's awful. Please, absolute Jesus, do not watch either of those two movies. They are a disrespect to the idea of film. It's bonkers how bad they're like God bless all of the actors and like set designers and cinematographers and CGI people, like all of the people who worked on it. All the blame lands solely on a single individual, and he needs to sit down or something because you're out. You got benched. I'm sorry, but that was bad twice. We haven't even seen the second one. We've seen enough reviews and clips of it that I don't want to put my brain through that. But like Rebel Moon has a bunch of like cool cinematographic, like beautiful cinematography, like dope, like kind of that like slow-mo posy shit action sequences or like dramatic sequences, and none of them are paid for. They were all stolen from your mind. They're all shit. They're so shit that some of them actually make you more confused about the movie, which is ferociously impressive.
Every scene in like that in Furiosa
was so bought and paid for, dude. You profited off of it, right? Like you collected interest on that loan, my dude. Furiosa, that final one where she's like where we get the like his fucking water bottles slashed, and then his tires missing, and then the like sound, and then she's like standing on the hill. You're like, yeah, you be that dramatic, girl. Bam. What's up?
You know what?
How slow are we gonna murder this guy?
The things that Dementis was saying in the end, especially, was so good.
Dementis. Okay.
Wow.
This is a Furiosa movie. Furiosa obviously doesn't count, best character or whatever the fuck, right? Unimportant. Who was your favorite character? Yeah, I know, toughies.
You know, this is really hard because I really liked Dementis. Dementis was this like level of like bad guy.
Joker. He was the Joker. Actually the fucking Joker.
He was the Joker.
Dementis,
he was
the best Joker ever put to film.
He's a Jeffrey Rush from Pirates of the Caribbean.
Yeah, he's just
but
insane.
Also like you could see where he was not trying to be a bad guy. Right?
The cracks underneath the makeup.
The cracks underneath
were two things. So, remarkably sad. Like the darkest, saddest soul humanly possible.
Yeah.
And a fucking prick. Like the worst son of a bitch. Punch him in the face. You know what? Punch him 2 times. Fuck that guy.
Yeah.
He's both so remarkably, like you walk right up to the door feeling for this guy, and then you touch the door, and like, I don't know if you were a kid and you remember those, like, the videos that they showed you about, like, there's a fire, what should you do?
Oh, don't touch it.
And you, like, touch a door handle, and they're like, if it's hot, don't open the door because of backflashes. That is his personality, is the door and the handle. You walk right up to feeling bad for the guy, and then you touch that handle, and you're like, I'm not opening that door. I know better than that.
Yeah, he's a really complex character.
He's so good. He's so well presented. He's so good. He is terrifying when he needs to be terrifying. He is an idiot when he needs to be an idiot. This might be his best ever performance as an actor. I'm dead fucking serious.
Yeah.
It's so good. And at the same time, and we were talking about this when we were parking, at no point in time at all in the movie did I think, what is Thor gonna do next?
Yeah.
Not once did I see the actor or his other roles through the character. Because the character is so perfectly insane.
Yeah.
Right? You never see it coming with that guy.
He was
I loved it.
He was acting and not being himself, a thing that like a lot of actors do.
Yeah,
and I'm not throwing shade at that. I'm just saying he was definitely acting.
Yeah,
right?
some of those actors
like
being themselves are my favorites.
So I also really liked the dimension that they gave to Immortan Joe. How absolute dare you, George Miller, for making me want to be on Immortan Joe's team.
Immortan Joe,
also,
and
like,
the weird nipple man.
Yeah,
we're fucking. I was just like, can we get like? I would prefer if the scene cut out the nipple guy and we just did a voiceover because he's off scene, because I super don't want to see this guy touch his nipples anymore. Yeah. I'm so immediately done with that energy, my guy.
The level of extra dimension they brought to these characters
Joe was so cool,
crazy.
Dude. He was so cool.
Also, the smoky eye, what?
Yeah, oh my god. Oh my goodness. You know what? And like the War Boys felt
like young Immortan Joe was like almost hot.
He walked right up to the door.
He walked right up to the door and then was like,
also, I love that we learned about his sons.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? I love that we learned a little bit more about the Citadel.
Yeah.
That scene when Dementis first shows up to the Citadel.
Yeah.
And is like, I'm gonna kick your ass or whatever. And this fucking guy, he's just like, choose a war boy.
Any one of them.
You're awaited in Valhalla, and this dude just plummets. Holy shit. I was
not prepared.
I was so prepared for 1v1. I thought they were going to be like, any of your guys against one of our guys, he's going to kick your ass. War boys are the best. I was expecting the 1v1 fight, and then we get to like, and then whatever, right? I totally did not see this dude just, and you know what? As soon as he was like, that guy, and the next guy was like, this guy. And you saw like a quake.
Yeah.
Right? I don't know who this fucking actor is, who was only on screen for a little bit.
Yeah.
That guy needs better roles. Give him more roles, guys. Because you saw the quake of like, I know what's going to happen next. But the quake immediately gave in to like the confidence of religious zealotry.
Yeah.
Right? And then he gets the spray and he grabs the things and he does that leap and he does the leap and I'm like, oh no! And then he's on the things and I'm like, maybe this is a fight actually and I just got fucking faked. And then he does the leap into the ground and I was just like, fuck you, man.
Yeah.
What the this also, is so good.
Praetorian Jack, what a cool character.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't know where it was going, whether it was like friends or like father-daughter, brother-sister, mentor, like pupil kind of energy. But like, I'm pretty okay with that being like maybe romantic energy, even though initially they met and there was obviously like an age gap, right?
Yeah.
But that was really kind of cool. And I see that I see that the relationship between them could be different based on the teller of the myth.
Yeah.
You know?
Well,
but they left
like,
it very,
I don't know that
like,
you could
vague.
hundo passundo that it was, like, purely a romantic sitch.
Yeah, we don't know.
You know?
Because they left it, like, without color.
Yeah.
To
well,
it.
You know, it's part of that. This feels like a legend. This feels like a tale from a bard. Right, and it's the thing that I keep circling back to, like, when I'm thinking about the movie, is that this feels like I'm listening to a bard tell a tale. It feels like George Miller, the bard around my campfire, is telling me the legend of Furiosa. Yeah. Right? Like, that's the thing that we experience.
Yeah, Frodo of the Nine Fingers and the Ring of Gold.
Yeah, exactly. You know? Like, it was so good, and like, there were characters that were fleshed out enough for you to understand their import, and at the same time, there were characters like Jack, right? Where, like, he was fleshed out enough to understand the loss, but not so much as to give you, like, unnecessary color. This was a very tight movie.
Yeah.
Right? Like, rad tight, cool, or whatever. But, like, boss, whatever. But, like, also, like, it was tight. You got just enough out of every character. You got just enough out of every vehicle, out of every set piece, out of every action piece. Like, this is that, in my mind, this is that thing where, like, when you see these movies that are sort of, like, overly luxurious and they kind of fucking droll on about their shit. Yeah. And you're like, all right.
They languish.
They languish, right? This movie did not have that. It was just like, we got a fucking lot of ground to cover, right? Again, like, to relate it back to that bard thing, it's like, it is late. We have ate. We have drank. I'm gonna do a song. Let's take a fucking sleep. You know, this was such a tight movie that kind of gave you, like, here's a bunch of story. We're starting with a fucking kid, dog. We got like 15 years to cover. We do not have time for this shit. Yeah. Right? And when chapter 1 first started, I was like, oh, they're doing the title cards thing. Okay.
It works.
And then by the end, I'm just like, what's the next chapter? I enjoyed that as much as I think it's a bit overdone of a trope to do the chapter cards thing.
Even though tropes can be overdone. The movie was tight enough for it to be good. Yeah, even though tropes can be overdone, there are sometimes that using the trope is the correct vehicle to use. Yeah. And I think that in this it definitely did. Yeah. And also I think that the usage
they brought
of
back the build
montage. Yeah.
Like montage. Bring back montages. It was so cool. Oh my god.
Yeah, the montage, if you will, at the end of the movie through the credits that gives you basically the events of what happens in Fury Road is
Flash
a
forwards.
Really nice ending. Because it's taking you through all the bits, and you're like, yes, I know this myth also.
Yeah, it felt very much like, the second day at the campfire, right? The second day of your journey, when he's like, well, you know, when he ends the song, he ends the tale with like, well, and you know, Furiosa has other tales. And you're like, oh, I remember that you told me a different one yesterday. Yeah, this is dope. We hired the right guy. You know, like, it's that energy, right? It causes you to, it felt very, like, specifically in my mind, the, like, flash forwards to the movie that we already saw, right? Felt very much like, like when you're watching a play, or like the Edemaru in the book series we were reading, where it's like, you know, but that's a tale for another time. You know, where you're like, oh, I know about this, but like, we're not putting on this play right now. The play is over. Please go home. But like, next time you hear that we're in town, give us money. You know, it felt very much like that, right? Yeah. And I think that solidified my interpretation of his way of presenting this universe as like Greek legend, as like, you know, Norse or Celtic lore, like the same way that you would talk about like gods and monsters and you know, people of vast distance that like nobody is really sure are real or whatever, you know, talking about the island of the giants or you know, some nonsense like Atlantis, some, you know, something like that. So it was like larger than life kind of energy. Yeah, I like dummy enjoyed this. So we went over best car, we went over best character. Of the 3 towns, best town.
I mean, definitely the Citadel.
Yeah,
I think Citadel.
I think Gastown, man.
Gastown's pretty cool.
Gastown's quite cool, dude.
But definitely, I'm
but
here
like
for the
Gastown pre that guy fucking it up.
Oh yeah. You
know what I mean? But I guess the Citadel does have food.
Yes.
But it seems like the Hole Dwellers.
Yeah, I
don't get a lot of that stuff. Also, what? Like, so many times in this movie, I was just like, well, you're not gonna fucking explain that? This better be in a fucking picture book later or something, man. You know, one of them, like, art of the movie sort of books that gives you, like, behind the scenes, like, this is why I thought this would be a great idea. Like, I am so prepared for a YouTuber to do, like, a 4-hour breakdown of how this movie was made and, like, George Miller's thoughts behind all of the individual set pieces.
I'm sure we'll get it.
Yeah, we'll watch it. I'm very excited to find it, and if I find it, I'll let everybody else know.
Yeah, so anyway, this was fantastic.
It was great.
Highly recommend.
Yes.
Definitely see it in the theater. Yeah. You don't need to see Fury Road.
Like, right away before. If you haven't seen it at all, I don't know what's wrong with you watching this far, but good luck.
Yeah.
But, like, yeah, you don't need to watch Fury Road right before, but I'll tell you what, this movie makes me want to watch fucking Fury Road.
It sure does.
Right?
Yeah.
So
we're going to watch it probably next.
Yeah, we're probably going to watch it next. So, absolutely fantastic. Super loved it. Thank you for joining us. I've been John Norgrove. This has been Julie Norgrove. This has been Review Jive. I forgot what I was doing so hard right there. Don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe, and do all that sort of stuff. And we will catch you guys next time.
For another review.
Oh my god, we have so many more. So it's going to be fun. Though.
Yeah.